Hello, everyone. I wanted to start this talk by saying how happy I am to be talking about change, and then I realized, okay, who am I fooling, and why would I lie to these people? Because the truth is that I'm very happy to see all of you here, but I'm also very scared and anxious to be giving this talk to you today, and there are two reasons about that. The first one is that this talk is very personal, so I have many personal experiences that I will be sharing during this talk, which is obviously very vulnerable, and that's scary. And the second one is that, well, change is hard, so this topic by itself, by default, is a very difficult one. But I'm going to talk to you about this anyway, so let's do that. Let's ride the roller coaster together. So how many of you have experienced some sort of change the past few years, major changes, either in your personal or professional life? Okay, cool. I guess everybody, it looks like. How many of you were actually feeling anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, were going through these changes? Okay. And how many of you have felt excited, happy, curious when experiencing those changes? Okay, so I see a lot of hands that are raised in all three questions, right? So let me take you into the journey that I had and share some experiences, reflections, and learnings of my own from my personal life. So in June 2024, so basically 10 months ago, I moved to Finland. I was living before that in Hamburg, Germany for 7 years, and I'm originally from Greece. So generally, I made my way up the map somehow. And the reason that I moved to Finland is because my partner, whom I met when working remotely, is from Finland, so I moved there. The other thing that happened together with this change is that when moving, or when starting actually a relationship with my partner, I became a bonus parent because he has 2 kids, these 2 beautiful humans that are walking in the forest there. And that was also part of the reason, right, why the decision was for me to move there, that he has kids, so it was not an option for him to move to Germany, for example. So becoming a bonus parent. Then 3-4 months later, in September, I became unemployed because the company I was working for remotely decided to lay off 85% of the company. And I'm a coach, so you can imagine coaches don't survive that, even if it's a lower percentage, but especially in that dimension, right? And then I became self-employed, so I started my own company, which is called Legit Coaching. I hope you like the name. I love it. It's very legit, actually. So I became self-employed. I started my own business. And all that happened within 4 months. So I would dare to say that this is a pretty decent amount of change for anyone to go through, especially in such a short period of time, right? So this is why I'm here talking to you about this topic. I thought, okay, change has a lot of learnings in itself about life and so on, and about us as humans, but at the same time, it has a lot of analogies and connections in the role that I have as a coach when working with teams, individuals, and organizations. So this is basically what we will go through today together. So what I will be talking to you about in this talk is situations from my personal life, that, as you realize, there are quite a few of examples I can go through. Then analogies from situations I have faced as a coach when coaching people, teams, and organizations. And I will be sharing learnings and realizations I've had through this journey, through this process. What I will not share with you is specific frameworks, sorry about that, and a full list of everything change-related. So this is not something we will cover today. And what I'm hoping that you get out of this is, I wish that I get to enable you to see change as an opportunity for growth, while embracing and seeing your own humanity when going through that. We will be talking about I will be covering 4 main areas today. The first is self-awareness. Then we'll talk quite a bit about curiosity, then about experimentation, and last but not least, about stability. The first 2 ones are the main ones, the bigger ones, let's say, but that doesn't make the other 2 less important. So let's start talking about self-awareness. So when I was going through all these major life changes that I mentioned, I realized that even small things, like for example, changing my contract in order to be able to work remotely from Finland and not from Germany anymore, or figuring out the bureaucracy I need to do to move my car from one country to the other, felt very overwhelming, very stressful to me. All these relatively smaller changes, if I may call it. And even though I rationally knew what are the steps I need to do in order to make those things happen and work out, I still found myself having the thinking that I should not be feeling the way I was feeling. I should not be feeling overwhelmed. I should not feel stressed. So I had this self-talk in my mind very often. But what I realized is that this only left me feeling more tired, more exhausted, right? And there was a lot of guilt there involved as well, so that was not helpful at all. So very often in agility, we talk about inspecting and adapting. That's most likely also something it's on the Scrum Guide, or at least was in some version of it and in many different other places. But what I realized from my own experience is that there is one step that we are actually missing in between, right? And this is the step of acknowledging. So what I mean about acknowledging in this concept is acknowledging what is happening within us in certain situations, acknowledging how we are feeling and what does this say about what are the things that are important for us. And some of you might ask, okay, why would I care about that? Why do I need to acknowledge anything? I can just move on. I'm inspecting, I'm learning something, I'm adapting the thing. Who cares, right? The reason is that when we acknowledge and when we know what is happening within us and we realize what are the things that are important to us, then we can make conscious decisions. Then we are not reacting in situations anymore, but we are responding, which means we make a conscious choice based on the awareness that we have, right? The things that we have acknowledged and realized. And so that doesn't sound very fuzzy, which might be the case right now, I will just give you some examples, and I will start from one from the industry, from our work, right? So let's talk a little bit about pair programming. So I work with product engineering teams. This is why I'm bringing this example. And what I've often seen in certain organizations, certain teams, is I've met quite a few people that are very hesitant to do pair or team programming. They say that, well, this is not very effective. This is not for me. It takes so much time. I would be way faster if I would just do this on my own. I don't know if you have also met people that have such beliefs or ideas or opinions. Okay, so I'm not alone in this experience. It's cool. Well, I'm not sure if it's cool, but it is what it is, if we're honest. Yeah, so this is what they're often mentioning, right? So if we don't take a moment, if these people don't take a moment, or if we, me as a coach supporting them, don't take a moment to see what is behind that, we might say, okay, pair programming is not for me, I don't like it, it's not efficient, I'm not gonna do it, done, right? This could be the decision, which would be mostly a reaction. Right? But what if we see what is behind this thinking, right? So what if we dive one step deeper into that? So some thoughts that I have heard from people actually in one-on-one coaching are, well, actually, what if others see how much I Google or use AI when I'm coding? Right? If I pair with someone, that means I'm sitting next to someone or I'm sharing my screen. That might be a bit embarrassing, right? Or it will be exhausting for me being in a call for 2+ hours, right? I like taking breaks. Or I love listening to music when I code. So when we go one step deeper, we see, okay, it's not just about how efficient it is or how fast we are. There are other things a little bit under the surface that are concerning the people that make them having these ideas. But we are not finishing there. There is more under the surface, right? And I'm just going to use an analogy of an iceberg here. So what might be happening actually, and I'm just using the example of Googling and using AI in this case, is that the people might have actually worry and fear of how they might be seen from other people, right? They might worry, okay, well, if people see how much I Google and use AI, will they think I'm not knowledgeable enough, that I'm not skilled enough, right? They might have this stress in the background. Because, of course, we all want to be seen as knowledgeable and skilled from our peers in what we do, right? In the other examples that I said, it might be, again, worry, stress, frustration, because it might be important for the person to be a little bit more independent on how they're working during the day, right? If they're taking breaks. Or they might think, well, if someone knows that I'm usually taking a break every 45 minutes, 1 hour, they might think I'm not productive enough, actually. And what if my manager even realizes that, right? What if they know? That might be a problem. And last but not least, in the other example, again, similarly, right? It might be that there might be perception, especially in certain types of organizations, that, well, if you're listening to music, you're not actually working. So am I being seen as productive? Am I being seen as effective in what I'm doing, right? And why, again, right, in this example, why is this important? Because when we realize this, we have a choice now. We have all this awareness. We have acknowledged all these things and realized all these things about ourselves. So we can choose still what we would choose as a reaction in the beginning, saying, you know what, pair programming is not for me, I'm not going to do it, it's just not my style of work. Or, with all this awareness that we have, we can go to our team, to our peers, and share some of these things we have realized, or even make requests, like, you know what, I would love to pair program with you, but I would like to take a break every 1 hour just to walk around my desk or something, because that helps me think better, or whatever it is, right? We make a conscious decision. Or we can also choose to acknowledge, okay, you know what, this is scary for me for all these reasons. We might not want to share this for some reasons of ours, but we say, you know what, I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to try it out one time just to see, how does this work for me? How is the experience, right? Especially if it's with a colleague that we feel safe. So basically, identifying our feelings and acknowledging them and listening to what they have to tell us can give us valuable information on what is important for us. And we can use this awareness to make decisions that serve us, especially in moments of change, in situations of change. So I will go back to a personal example that I was saying earlier to talk about opposing feelings a little bit. So I was very excited to move to Finland, right? And the reason for that is because I would finally not have a long-distance relationship with my partner, which is good. And at the same time, I was very scared because I'm a person, I'm a human, which means doing such a major change has a lot of uncertainty, right? I'm going literally into the unknown, and that can feel unsafe, which brings a lot of fear, right? So me looking a bit inside of me, right? What can we realize? What are the things that we can learn from acknowledging those feelings? Well, the excitement was my need of being closer with my partner, my need for having more shared moments together, right? Because we would finally live in the same place. And what would my fear say, right? My stress, my overwhelmness, would give me the information that certainty is important for me, safety is important for me, and I'm going into the unknown, right? And again, this is valuable information for us to have. So in situations of change especially, there can be opposing feelings. And both feelings can say something valid about our experience, right? And can coexist in the same situation. And if we listen to them, they can give us important information about ourselves. If we look at the professional situation, this is not me losing my job, but me coaching a team that was it was in an organization that was going through layoffs, basically, which happens a lot, sadly, in the industry the last years, I guess. So in this company, the teams and the leadership knew that this is going to happen. There were awareness for a couple of months that they were trying to figure out, make the decision and figure out, okay, what is the amount of budget that needs to be cut, which means amount of people that need to go, and so on and so forth, right? So when I was in a retrospective with the team, after we had the awareness of what is happening and who is staying and who is going, what people shared, and in this retrospective we had both members, actually, both type of members, people that would stay and people that actually would go. It was kind of like a closing retrospective. So people shared that, okay, it's sad to see people go, or it's sad to leave the team, it's sad to leave the company, I had such a good time here. And at the same time, there was also I feel relieved that this is finally over. And this was shared from both parties, also from the people that are staying, because they're like, okay, we finally have clarity. We finally know what's happening. And also the people that would go, they're like, okay, I finally know what's going to happen to me. I can now choose what I'm going to do with my life, like find a new job, take a break, travel, whatever, right? So this clarity was very helpful. The other thing that was existing, though, in this situation was guilt. Very often when we have these opposing feelings, we also have this guilt like, am I even allowed to be feeling relieved in this situation? Does this make me a bad person, feeling relieved? I should just feel sad, right? Because this is a very sad situation. So this is also something we can see, right, in such situations. So again, one last message again for this self-awareness part is that there can be opposing feelings, and One is not less valid than the other. Each one tells a different story, and each story is true and important. So let's now go and talk a little bit about curiosity. And we will be talking again about self-awareness here and there. So this is me watching a football match of my bonus daughter. She's playing football in a girls' team. I know you cannot necessarily recognize me because there's not many parts of me that are visible, but this is really me. I think it was minus something degrees, -2 or something, but it was windy, so it felt way colder. So if anyone would have told me years ago, reminder, I'm Greek, important. I'm not made for this, okay? Very important. So if anyone would have told me years ago that I would be doing this, I would have told you, you're crazy, not a chance. Why would I do that to myself? That's what I would tell you. And still here I am, there is proof. I did that, right? So curiosity. When you see yourself in such a situation that you're like, I will never do this, why would I do that? Take a moment and be curious towards yourself with intent, again, to become more self-aware and see what's happening within you. So think about what is scary for you in this new situation that you're experiencing. What might be opportunities for learning and growth for you? And also, what are the things that you appreciate in your current situation that might be threatened in this potential new situation? In my particular example, what was being threatened was my health in some way, like I would get a cold because it was very cold sitting there, but that's I guess, an easy one. But what I would get out of this, right, was connection and togetherness with my bonus daughter, because me being there would give me the opportunity not only to enjoy seeing her play, but at the same time, having the opportunity to be there after the game and seeing her excitement if the game would have gone well, or her frustration if it wouldn't have gone well. But in any case, both are connecting moments, right? Both are important, and this is what I would get out of that. This is why I was there. So curiosity can also be very interesting when we, when we see cultural differences. And there are quite a few cultural differences between Greece and Finland, I would dare to say, especially on how we approach people. So there was one day I was walking with my partner down the street, and he told, I saw a guy passing by, and my partner told me, oh, that was a university friend. I was like, okay, didn't you want to say hi or something? He's like, I did. I'm like, I didn't hear anything. Basically, he had nodded with his eyes. I don't even know how to display that right now, so I'm sorry. They had both done that, apparently, to each other, so they acknowledged each other's existence. Basically, that was them saying hi, without any verbal thing going out. I will say again that I'm Greek, so what I would have done in this situation is that I would basically have said, hi, how are you? We would hug, maybe even kiss each other on the cheeks, because that's what Greeks do. Then we'd be like, how are you? How is life? We would catch up for 10 minutes, and then we'd be like, oh, let's exchange numbers or Facebook or whatever there is. Let's grab a coffee someday so we can properly catch up. We don't have enough time now. I need to go. So I would dare to say that's a little bit on the different sides of the spectrum, right? But again, so curiosity, right? In such situations, it can be very easy to have judgmental thoughts or opinions on situations. But if we show curiosity, we might actually learn things about each other, right? And that's beautiful. Let's go into an example from the industry. How many of you have joined a team or an organization and you've seen how things are working and you're like, oh my God, what the hell? How did they even think that this is a good idea? Or have any other type of judgmental thoughts on ways of work or process or stuff like that? Okay, this is very human, by the way. We are not bad people. It's just normal to think certain things. So, so this can happen in situations that we realize, okay, they do things very differently and maybe in a way that I don't prefer or I don't like, right? So the example I want to dive deeper with you right now is a situation of joining a team in which they're slicing stories in maybe different way than one would prefer. And in this particular situation is joining a team and realizing they are purely slicing stories purely in back-end and front-end, right? So they don't have this vertical slices, if we might call it, of one piece of value deliverable necessarily, but do this very, very separately. So we might realize that when we see that, we feel frustration, annoyance, any of those, like have many judgmental thoughts, right? So again, we have a choice when we observe that in ourselves. And this can be showing curiosity towards ourselves first, saying, okay, I have these thoughts and that's how I feel. What does that say about me? What might be the things that are important for me that most likely are being threatened right now in this particular situation? Right? And what might be the case in this situation is that, well, for me, it's very important to deliver valuable software continuously. And when I see that my perception or assumption is that, well, this is not possible in the way that this team is working, or it's important for me to closely collaborate with peers in the team. And when I see that, I'm thinking, well, that means that front-end and back-end folks are not working together, actually, but very separately, right? Generally, it's important for me doing valuable work. That's things I can learn about myself, right? So when we have this awareness and we have shown curiosity towards ourselves, we can do this thing towards others as well, right? As we did earlier with the example of Finnish people. So what could be true about them? We can also show curiosity towards the other party in this case and try to realize, okay, what is happening there? And in this example, what might be going on is that, well, this team was actually two separate teams earlier on. It was a back-end and a front-end team. And now they're in this path of transitioning into becoming a one team that they can work closer together. They just happen to not have yet started slicing their stories in a different way because this just started a few weeks or months ago, right? And they're in this path of having already realized and acknowledged that there is space for improvement in the way they work, and they're in this transition. So when we realize that, and what is going on, then we might see way more opportunities actually for connection and togetherness, right? So through showing curiosity towards ourselves and then towards the others, we can be part of the team, right? We can basically find moments of opportunities of understanding the others, finding moments of connection and togetherness in this context. And it can also be open new ways that we can contribute, right? So in this context, when we see actually we care about the same things, it seems, right? And I have this experience from before, then I can bring this expertise and knowledge into the table and support in this transition, right? Which originally, if I would have stayed just with my judgmental thoughts and be like, you know what, this sucks, they don't know how to do this, I'm out of here, we would have missed this opportunity, right? Without showing this curiosity towards them. So through the lens of curiosity, differences can become opportunities for connection and togetherness. And I will share with you some personal examples now. So this was me arriving in Finland. This is Anxiety from Inside Out. If you haven't watched the movie, highly encourage it. And I'm not paid from Disney to say that. Yeah, so this was me. And what I was very anxious about was all these different things that were different and I had to deal with. So I was very overwhelmed because I was thinking that there are so many differences between me, my partner, or all these people in this country, like the family or whoever else, right? So it's a different language they speak, it's a very different culture, they have different habits, it's a different family context, right? So I'm suddenly getting into this new role that I don't have myself, so it's very scary. The weather is different. Again, I'm from Greece, Finland, winter. You even need to learn how to walk because it's very slippery. So the basics are important. And I had to deal with a lot of bureaucracy as one needs to do when moving countries, right? So I was focusing a lot on all these differences, and I was very worried I will not be able to belong. That was my worry. That's what I needed. I wanted a place to belong, and I was worried, well, that's not going to happen because of all that. And what I realized is actually all these things actually became great opportunities for connection and togetherness, like learning Finnish. So there are many things you can do wrong when learning Finnish. One letter matters, as you can see. In the first one, you have two A's, and it means I meet you. If you erase the one A, it means I kill you. You don't want to get this one wrong, right? And when pronouncing, it can be very easy. So learning Finnish has become a very fun activity between me and the kids, actually, and especially my partner's daughter. She loves me doing Duolingo or doing this together. She laughs a lot. I also have a great time. So this has become a moment of togetherness. Also exploring what are the differences, definitions of what a beach looks like. So the left one is at a lake in the vacation we did last summer with the kids. And the picture is not cut. This is the whole beach. Okay, just so you know, I didn't cut it. So the kids were very excited. Oh, we're going at the beach and the lake. I'm like, okay, that sounds great. And we are there. And I'm like, are we there yet? They're like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, okay, where is the rest? It was not there. But then again, right, they were showing also curiosity. They're like, okay, why? How is it in Greece? How would it look like in a Greek island? And that's the picture on the right. And then they were like, oh, nice, let's travel there someday, right? Again, moments of connection, of togetherness. Or when I was trying to learn how to ski, on the left side, you can see me. This is downhill on the left side, even though it doesn't look like it. It's on the baby slope. That's what I've managed to master so far. But again, the kids were encouraging me very heavily, like telling me I'm doing a great job. And also, they got to see someone in the age of 32 actually trying to learn a new skill that maybe for others it might be very obvious that you learn it as a kid. In some countries, it might be that way, right? It's not in Athens, where I grew up. And I also get to bring a lot of things on the table. Greek food is one of them, which is very tasty, but also I bring literally light into their lives. Because I'm the person opening the blinds every single day. They could stay with blinds down, darkness all day. I cannot survive that. So I am always the weird person opening the blinds in the house, and there is light, which is nice, sun, you know, like very, very good stuff. We all need that. So in moments of change, it can be very easy to focus on all the differences we have with others, but curiosity towards ourselves and towards others can help us identify opportunity for connection in the new situation. So let's dive into experimentation a little bit. Let's see how that plays into all this aspect of change. And here we will start a little bit with physics. With Newton's first law of motion, which says basically that an object in motion stays in motion, or an object at rest wants to stay at rest, right? And I've realized that this is also very relevant when we go through change, like emotionally in a way. And that's also what Wardley was talking about yesterday, that there is natural inertia in a way when going through change, right? This natural tendency of ours to try to remain into our current situation. So here I want to talk a little bit about an organization, an example in professional example from the industry. So what I've heard very often as a coach is we want to be more agile. I tend to hear this a lot from management, like a lot. And what I also often see is that they keep having the tendency to keep certain habits that they have. Like, for example, let's plan a 1-year agile transformation and let's make a roadmap about that. Or let's be agile, but still we need a roadmap for the next 3 years, right? And a very detailed, with capacity planned out and estimates and all these different things, right? So change is hard. And it's not, in this case, I'm not saying it as like that management doesn't want to change. It's just very difficult to not fall into the patterns that we have. It's very difficult to not just keep doing the same things, because we have this natural tendency to keep our situation, like our situation that we are in right now. So let's try to dive a little bit deeper on what might be happening here. And we will use the iceberg again, right? So what might be behind someone saying we want to be more agile? What they actually mean by this is, okay, we want to deliver value to our customers frequently, or we want to remain relevant and competitive as a business, and we think that's the way we can do that. But what might be behind that as well can also be certain worries, especially when it comes from people from leadership or management, because they're like, well, I don't know what to do, what to go and tell investors if I don't have a 1-year roadmap. What's what they expect, right? Or they might have the worry and the fear, well, will I still be relevant? Agility is a lot about the self-organizing teams. What will I be doing when the teams are self-organizing? or will I be doing, or what will I be saying to my manager or my investors if I don't have this lengthy plan that they're expecting, right? So again, self-awareness. Because change is really, really hard. And you might say, okay, cool, we know change is hard. We have acknowledged our feelings right now. We have shown curiosity towards everything. Is there anything I can actually do? And yes, one thing we can do is experiment. So let me talk to you about the home experiment, as I call it, in quotes, home experiment. So when I moved, we had to make a decision with my partner. Are we going to move in together, or will I find my own place, right? Again, remember moving to a new country and having 2 kids. And my partner is actually co-parenting with the mom of the kids, which means the kids are 1 week in that one house, 1 week in the other. So if we would move in together, that means that half the time I would have kids full-time into my everyday life, right? So we were thinking, okay, this is a very big change for everyone. This is a big change for me, while in the context of all the other changes I shared in the beginning, this is a very big change for my partner as well as for the kids, right? So we thought, okay, what might be an experiment that we can run to make this transition smoother, with the end goal of potentially someday, if that makes sense for us, moving together in the same house. And what we decided is, okay, I will find my own place, and I will be going a couple of times a week to cook and have dinner together, so we get to spend a bit more time with the kids when they're there and so on and so forth. And also, the weekends that the kids would be staying there, I will also be staying with them. So that then we have these moments of togetherness, that we can interact with each other, we can have a little bit of everyday life together, but while also having the option of privacy, of me being able to always go to my own place if I need to, and so on and so forth, right? So that's what we decided. So, and we ran this experiment in order to see, okay, what works for us, and for us meaning for everyone, right? All 4 of us. So there are many situations also in working with teams and organizations that I've seen that a big change, a very big step like the one you see in this on the left side, can seem very scary, very overwhelming. What I've often seen with my teams is the tendency to avoid making bigger changes in their ways of work, in what tool they want to use, if they want to try a different one, programming languages, any such decisions. They seem very overwhelming sometimes. But what feels way more natural to them and way easier is to just choose to do a smaller step, being like, okay, let's try out this one thing for the next few weeks, see how this works for us, see what we learn, and then we can decide later if we want to integrate this into our process or not. Right? So instead of doing one big step, do many small ones and course correct as you go. And with this learning, you can figure out actually what works for you and make more conscious decisions. What is very important in such situations is also having someone to walk alongside you. In the professional environment, this can be a coach that is supporting you as individual or your team or organization when going through these changes, or your manager if they have these skills, or fellow colleagues of yours. And in personal life, of course, it can be friends or partners or anybody that is actually supporting you, right? Which is very, very important especially when going through situations of change, because it's way harder to just do it alone, to do it all alone. Which brings me to the last part, talking about stability here. So, as we said, change is very hard, and it is important to take care of ourselves when we go through changes. In order to do that, we need to listen to ourselves first, as I said, right? And this self-awareness can really help us finding the grounding mechanisms that can help us go through changes. So what I've often seen in organizations when they're going through big changes is that when there are big decisions to be made in the organization, for example, I don't know, like they decide to change strategy, which means that will impact also how the teams are working or what they're working on and things like that. The team's motivation might be impacted. There is a lot of uncertainty, so this is very difficult. So what the teams very often do, or at least what I have seen so far, is they turn inwards. They're into their team bubble, basically, a lot. And they try to kind of skip what is happening in the outside world until there is more certainty and clarity and decisions made and so on and so forth. Right? So when there are many moving pieces in our lives, it's important to find our constant, to find where we can ground ourselves. And in my specific situation, what are the things that were my constant in all this change were the self-awareness and the work that I have done with myself, this muscle that I have trained, and I keep training, and hopefully I will keep training for the rest of my life. So this self-awareness that was enabling me to know what is important for me, what do I need, and then trying to meet those needs of mine. Having friends around, right? So that's one of the things that were very important for me. So then I went to meetups and different places so that I can meet like-minded people. Doing workouts, again, physical exercise that would help me ground myself and relax, walks in the nature, and of course, having support from my partner and also my family. So what might be our constant in an environment full of change, right? So ourselves, people around us, our teams in a professional context, and generally our support structures. And if I may summarize in a way, everything that we have discussed in this talk is that the step between inspecting and adapting is acknowledging what is happening within us. And we can do that by showing first curiosity towards ourselves and then towards the experience of others. The step towards change is small experiments and while using our constant as our grounding mechanism. So what I would invite you to do and consider maybe when leaving this talk is to just be curious. Be curious first towards yourselves, then towards others, and generally towards life. Thank you.